That's right. Good morning, happy weekend, happy Friday. And of course, Mr. Alric Lindsay is back in studio, candidate for Georgetown South. Welcome back to the Star Studio, sir.
Good morning, John. Good morning to all your listeners and viewers on the live stream.
So how are you, man? We getting down to getting closer to the day. How you feeling? How's the messaging going?
I'm feeling good. When you got Star 92, you got it made. So I'm sure my page is going to blow up today because I'm here with John Watler, I'm saying.
Wow.
So everything is good. Everything is good. We're not even thinking about the couple days up to election. What it's about is just working every day, every moment, listening to every concern of every voter
hmm
and every other resident who's not a voter, because you got to understand that there are people who are making a contribution to Cayman and they live in Cayman. Whatever policies that we have are going to impact them too. So I not only talk to voters, but I talk to people who are close to Caymanians, who have Caymanian friends and who love Cayman. Because at the end of the day, while I will represent all of the people of Georgetown South and all Caymanians, end of the day, the policies do affect everyone who's here. So my interest obviously is the best interest of Caymanians and the Cayman Islands, but we also have to include the other people who are living and working here. And just talking about that, people have said to me, if the one man one vote system works, and when you have such a small island and you have such small electoral districts, we're talking about like a 1,300 people in a particular electoral district, and like when you have 4 or 5 candidates in the same electoral district,
hmm
often what happens is you might have each of those people getting like 30%, 20% of the vote. And so people have said to me, if someone is winning based on 30% of the vote, is that really majority vote? And the person who gets in, does that person really represent the majority of the electoral district? So some people have said to me, should we go to a different system where you're allowed to vote for whoever you want on a national level? And also they're saying we should vote for the portfolio holders, the ministers, and we should vote for the premier. So it's very, very interesting.
hmm
I would love to hear what some of your viewers might think of that. If you're listening to the number to call in, and would be interesting to hear what everyone thinks about whether we should move over to a new system.
943-3700, 943-3700. When you said new system, you mean back to the old system?
Well, I think some of a mixture of the old system and allowing for some positions to be actually voted for. Like you see in some other countries where you may vote for a particular position. So some people are saying have a national vote for everyone to get in, but then when it comes to the portfolio positions,
hmm
that voters should be involved in that process too.
I actually
So
agree with that. You're
so
talking about the cabinet,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mm.
So the idea is that right now, when people get elected, the people who get elected then basically choose their friends or people that they like
Right.
or people that would support them, rather than choosing the person that's most competent for the position and the person who has the most experience, the person who's going to do the best job for the country. So I think that's one of the concerns, that the people may select the person who's best for the job rather than the person who has the best personality.
All right. We'll go straight to the phone lines. Morning, Star 92, you on the air.
Morning, Mr. Watler and Mr. Lindsay.
Morning.
I I would like to put forward my thoughts on the question presented, and I think a lot of what we desire from elected representatives, in theory, could be achieved by having organized entities. I deliberately use entities because when we hear the word party, we tend to associate something negative with party politics. So I deliberately use the word entity because a lot of what we desire, again, is being able to reach our representatives, being able to hear our concerns, being able to be informed on the issues properly and not be led by emotive statements or half truths. And I think if we have involved electors as well as involved um, members of parliament, involved with the community, I mean, real involvement, regular touch involvement, no social distance, no political distance, but being really involved with the electorate, a lot of what we desire can be achieved. I hear your point about, picking national representatives, but you realize how difficult it is to pick 1 out of 5. If you put 19 now, you have to pick 19 people out of 50. The choice doesn't get easier. It gets multiples more difficult. So my solution, my proposed solution, and I'm not running this year, is to have entities that are organized where the politicians are involved, the people especially are involved, not just in the 6 or 8 weeks before election day, but throughout the year. I think we can achieve more and be more efficient in government if we went with that sort of system. And I'd also like to mention a system that I think has a lot of merit. It's I don't remember the exact technical name for it, but basically what it does is persons with, say for example, the 3 highest votes, they would go into either a national or regional runoff if there's only one seat, and then that way it narrows down the choices. It has some built-in efficiencies and protections in that method, so that at the end of the day we really get the most popular. And let me just highlight that the most popular isn't necessarily the most competent. So those are just my thoughts on the question presented, and I wish you luck, Alric. I've known you for a number of years, and I think you're the best candidate for Georgetown South, bar none. So I hope that you're successful and you'll gain more trust of the people, and you'll do well in the seat. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
And that was Mr. Steve Bramwell there with the suggestions for having organized entities.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting, John, is when you look around the world and you look at the political parties, some of those parties around the world have a specific philosophy. They are focusing on labor or focusing on the environment. But in Cayman, we traditionally have people who come together through their friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, you have a party that's basically about personality and power. Whereas overseas, you have the combination of personality, power, and philosophy. I think what's missing from the groups in Cayman is that philosophy, because we don't really know as voters what the existing parties stand for. We see what's in their manifesto. What's in your manifesto saying what you're going to do if you get reelected is a lot different from saying this is our deep, well thought out foundation, because everything has to have a great foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's missing from this process. And when Steve talks about people just coming out a few weeks before election, that's not the fault of the people. It's the fault of how the Constitution is drafted. So you and the elections law, because we have a specific date as nominations day, and it's only on nominations day that you become a candidate. So you're not officially a candidate until nominations day. So I think that we need more time between nominations day and elections day so that the general public can get to know these candidates, get to know what they're all about. The problem that we have is how the Constitution is drafted is that we have to first dissolve the House, dissolve Parliament, and then nominations day is declared after dissolution occurs. So we're gonna have to be able to amend the Constitution so that you don't either you dissolve Parliament earlier or you allow people to get nominated 6 months before while Parliament is still in session. We have to find some way, and we have to think through it to find some way so that the people get enough time to get to know the candidate. And the other reason is that sometimes candidates get challenged as to their qualifications to be candidates. So in that kind of case, we need more time for a candidate to go through a court challenge. And then we need to also amend elections law to allow appeals. Right now, appeals are not allowed. So if you're a candidate, you're challenged, the ruling of the Grand Court is final and you have no right of appeal. So if you have a longer period for declaration, let's say 6 months, that means that not only do you get to know the candidate, each voter gets to know the candidate, but also if the candidate is challenged as to his qualifications, then he gets a chance to go to court, go through an appeals process, and then recover from the public damage.
All right, we're going to the phone lines again. Morning, you're on the air.
Morning, Renegade. Morning, Alric.
More.
I just want to pick up on that vein Alric left off on just now about the time in between nomination day and the date of the election.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I would say that would be contrary to what he said, and kind of highlight another aspect of the whole issue about the time and around nomination day versus the election day. Number one, if a person know that they're going to commit themselves to public office and devote their time to offering up their service to the country, I think that they should know long before nomination day. That's number one. And there's no excuse for a person to wait until nomination day or days before to declare or to even inform the public that they're going to be running, knowing very well that nomination day is a month before the general election. So if you mean well and you are honestly interested in helping the Cayman Islands and that's what you're going to do, that's not something you should wait until nomination day to declare in order to make your constituency or the people at large aware that that's your intention. You can make that known long before. However, I share the point with Mr. Lindsay on terms of the challenges and the time that is allotted is not enough time, especially if the election office challenge you and you win. If that challenge has taken up the whole entire month before the general election, then you must understand. And court cases is a very slow process. But again, I think nomination day should be a whole year out, in my opinion. If they want to get nominated, you don't have to dissolve the House on nomination day. That's just something that they concocted. I think it was a strategic mechanism to give anybody who weren't an incumbent an unfair opportunity with the time allotted. That's just my opinion based on how I see it's drafted. But I only said all of that because I can tell you openly that I was a victim of the court system and being challenged and whatnot. And I agree with Alric 100%. You can't boast a fair process when you have the Chief Justice making the absolute decision that you can't appeal. And if you look in the Constitution, it's actually pretty ridiculous that he has the final say. But the reality of it is that if anybody is going to commit themselves for running for office and being a servant of the people, I would imagine that they would have known that long before nomination day, which is a month before the general election, and long before the day that they declared, because that's not a process that you just up one morning and say, I'm going to just go run for politics. Yes, we have people who do that, but those people are not in their right mind, in my opinion. But we can't keep allowing a draconian process to take place and we reaping the consequences of it, which is not conducive for the general public. And then we continue to complain about it. And you're absolutely right, Alric. We need to have a process where we can get to know our candidates more. We can get to ask them more questions. We get more involved with them and allow them to let us be confident that they are the right person for the job, regardless of who they are. And in order to get to a point where we elect the best possible person, because again, it's all about who decides to run for office, which gives us our selection to then determine who we think is the best, right? Because there's no real protocols as to who can run or not. There are some things that create hindrances from some people to run it, but generally it's a pretty open playing field where a lot of people can run if they should choose to. So we can't just have a month before the general election to assess and digest and interpret who our candidates are. But anyway, I only called in to add to that vein, but I also called in to give you my support 100% and make sure that you understand that there's a lot of people pulling for you in this election, Alric. We think that you are a tremendous talent the Cayman needs to use in order to help craft and shape legislation that makes sense and that is directly beneficial for the people.
Well, thanks for the comments. And what's actually interesting is having more time also allows the election office to look into the qualifications of the candidates and to sort of, so it'll give it more time. I see it as a win-win situation.
Win-win.
And I think you're right that if you have an interest in running for politics and you're involved in the community, then you could let your interest be known way in advance. The only thing I would say is that I know some people are under contracts with some companies, and some of their employers might say you can't have this kind of debate politically.
May I interject there? May I interject there? And I don't accept. I'll say this, Alric. I'm a straight shooter. I refuse to accept that you want to ride the train and the fence all the way to the end, and then decide because you're not sure whether or not. Listen, if you're going to be a warrior in our political arena to fight for the best interest of the people of the Cayman Islands, I don't want to hear no foolishness about I'm not sure. Resign from your job, dedicate yourself to the cause, get in the neighborhoods, know the people, campaign, be the person you intend to be, but you can't pump fake and say, oh well, I'm going to take care of this. Listen, I've heard too many people use that as an excuse to try to pacify people, to try to understand. Listen, we all have bills, we all have responsibilities, we all have obligations, and we all have priorities. If you are not 100% committed to run and be a part of the solution and help the people of the Cayman Islands, I don't want to hear no excuse about I under contract. Give notice at your job, get into the field, start working with the people, campaign early, make sure, let people know you. I don't want to hear no excuse about I'm on contract in my job. Like, okay, if you know that your employer does not subscribe to you politicking while in their place of work, resign. Because if you're not willing to do that, then you're not willing to commit yourself 100%. End of story. And that's my opinion on that. I'll leave it there, Alric, because you always have. I'd rather listen to you than cut you off and let you not have what you have to say, because you're an extremely intelligent gentleman, and I hope the people of the Cayman Islands recognize how important you are as part of the harvest that we have, that we need to implement and put into places that your ideas can be impactful to the people of the Cayman Islands. That's how I see it. You have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks for the call.
So just to sort of go into what Mario Rankin was saying, I just to clarify, what he's saying is that if you made that decision to run, then you should make the arrangements with your employer or alternative arrangements so that there's no sort of contractual situation that's preventing you from running, and you put other things in place. And while I agree with Mario, we have a specific situation. I'll give you an example. There's someone who wanted to run, and that person wanted to declare, but the issue in that case was the spouse was going through some medical issues, and so while the person wanted to run, it wasn't so easy for that person to walk away from the job, because then there'd be no income, and so if there's no income, it was difficult for the spouse to handle medical expenses. So this is actually a real live situation, and while this situation was actually dealt with through other available support, had the person not had the other available support, it would have been extremely difficult for them to find their necessary income to support the medical expenses of their family before they made their announcement far before election. So I just want to make that point, because there are some specific situations, some unique situations that people have to consider before they throw their hat in the ring, because throwing your hat in the ring not only impacts you as an individual, it also impacts your family members. So I do agree with what Mario is saying, but I think there are also some of these specific situations that people do have to think through. I mean, do you have another caller?
No.
So the other thing I would say is declaring early is something you have to contemplate in terms of expenses as well, because sometimes it's not cheap to go on other shows not Star 92. It's very affordable. You get value for your money at Star 92. So it gets expensive though when you talk about doing one-page ads in a newspaper. When you talk about going on doing frequent interviews, advertising, social media, everything, it does add up. So if you're talking about a year out and you have all these expenses, either you're going to have to find a good sponsor, or you're going to have to find a job that doesn't mind you being involved in the political arena. So there's some things to consider. But I do agree that we should have a lot more time for the public to get to know the candidates, and for candidates to take their time to go around and have real discussions with people, rather than spending 5 minutes with someone. They don't know who you are. They don't know who you're related to. They didn't know your background. They're just meeting you for the first time. So definitely more time for the general public to get to know everyone.
Well, let me cut you there. We're going to take a small break, because you do have a meet and greet coming up.
That's right.
Which you can come out and meet Mr. Lindsay and do exactly that. Get to know him and all that good stuff. So don't move. We'll be right back. Aim Start Morning Show.
Morning Show. Brought to you by Flow, with the widest 4G LTE mobile coverage in the Cayman Islands.
Flow is excited to bring you everything you'll ever need in a mobile plan. Be the superhero in your family and get the new mobile family plan. The family plan gives you up to 4 lines for $60 per line per month with unlimited talk and data. You heard right, unlimited talk and data. Don't miss out on getting your family plan with Flow today. Visit discoverflow.ky/family for details. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Flow Cayman Islands. Terms and conditions apply. Flow, you deserve the best.
Put your hands for the progressive. Serving you is the objective.
Friends and voters of Georgetown South, this is Barbara Connolly, your Progressives and Alliance candidate. Over the last 4 years, I have worked diligently to make Georgetown South a better place to live. I rededicate myself to the betterment of all my constituents as a member of a new government, a government that has workable plans and programs to safely reopen our country and create greater employment opportunities for our young people. An alliance government will provide affordable housing, grow our economy, and look after our elderly and vulnerable families. I ask you to vote for Barbara Connolly on the 14th of April, 2021, so that with God's help, I may continue to serve you.
This is a paid promotion by the Progressives.
Put your hands for the progressive. Serving you is the objective. We going all the way. Progressive.
Ease
into the driver's seat with affordable and flexible RBC auto financing packages. Get up to 100% financing and extended repayment terms for lower monthly payments. With this offer, you can get access to more cash with a bonus pre-approved RBC credit card for qualified buyers. What are you waiting for? Speak with an RBC auto finance specialist today. Pre-qualify in just 60 seconds. Visit rbc.com/drive easy. Reimagine new ways to bank better.
Hey, K-Man, this is Alric Lindsay, your candidate for Georgetown South. I want to remind you of an upcoming event this Saturday, 10th of April at 4 p.m. This is a meet and greet and a family fun day. It's located at 628 Walkers Road, which is the empty lot across from St. Ignatius Catholic Church on Walkers Road. That's Saturday, 10th of April at 4 p.m., a family fun day and meet and greet. See you there.
Yo, this politician going about, vote for him. What is that? And give me $50. $50? Every time the election thing come around, you know. Every time, boys. Play. What are we going to do? We know to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Can't fool we and take with the clown. No. We know to deal with politics, and them bag of tricks. Vote for Alric Lindsay. All you a smile up for your life easy. Them too deep and greedy. No one help, but want to come greet me. Straight from Windsor Park to South Sound. I'll read the people them war round. I get to youth if I fight down. I feel shape up the system right now. People are tired for cry now. For me just want the chance to provide now. To survive. No most tired of the tie down. We want freedom to live life now. We know to deal with politics, and them politics.
You got Alric Lindsay in the studio. You got your own. You got a song.
Hey man, I mean,
plate. I like it.
you gotta manage everything, man. Songwriter, speechwriter.
That's pretty good.
You know, you gotta manage everything. I mean, how this happened was just going around talking to people, and everyone is saying, you know, why is it that everything stays the same way every 4 years?
Right.
Why is it the politician comes in and smiles with you, has all this time for you when he's trying to get your vote, but then disappears for the next 4 years?
Right.
And then when you see the politician in the street, he'd be like trying to run. He'd be like, I'm on my way to a meeting, or, you know, call my secretary.
Right.
But when it's time to get your vote, they at your house. They want to have coffee. You know, they want to hang out. You know, have a beverage, and they have like all this time. You sitting there spending hours. But so that's one of the reasons for the song, and got together with Sanka, Mitchell Forbes, and Lil Toki, who's Ken Powery. So Ken Powery does a piece in Spanish later in the song,
okay,
which actually talks about what we were discussing earlier. So what he talks about is when I was actually away, and I got challenged for being away studying Spanish, and so Lil Toki actually discusses that in Spanish, what the issue was and how I won the case. And you know, he says I'm back stronger than ever and have the support of the people. But yeah, I mean, in that process, I learned how talented we singers that we have here. I mean, like I couldn't believe it when I initially wrote the song. It was a couple pages long, and obviously, you know, no one's gonna sing a couple of pages.
Right.
So you know, Sanka and Toki just came into the studio and just listened, looked at the song. They actually started to sing out, you know, the different parts, and it's amazing process, right? And you understand why long for an artist sometimes to get a song together. And watching them go through the process was amazing, and that within a few hours they had sort of rewritten some parts of the song, and and we had a blank space in the song, and that's how the Spanish version came in, because we had to fill a certain section. And I said, you know what? Why don't we just talk about my experience? Toki went outside for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, came out with the lyrics and then sang it. And it was just crazy to see the amount of Caymanian talent that we have here. So, English, Spanish,
I was going to ask you that.
So,
since in your canvassing, is there a lot of Spanish voters?
So, there are Caymanians who have married Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that thing. And then you have, Latinos who have become Caymanians. So yes, there are the Latin voters out there. And when you're talking to voters, don't make any assumptions that someone isn't Caymanian and someone isn't a voter,
right,
just because, they're from another country initially. So yeah, there are your Latin voters. We have some new Indian voters as well. So I mean that's why when you look at the fact that there are over 100 nationalities in Cayman,
mm-hmm,
you also have to appreciate that some of those people at some point are going to become citizens, and I think that's why politicians, when they give their message or when they're implementing policy, should remember that there are other stakeholders in the country as well. Now, the primary objective is to, keep Caymanians first,
mm-hmm,
keep the culture, keep the heritage, teach these things in school, teach about the culture in school. And when people come to Cayman, they're embracing us, because what happens a lot with Caymanians is Caymanians welcome everyone to the country. Caymanians love to accommodate people, and accommodate people so much that Caymanians forget about themselves.
right.
That happens so often. And sometimes it comes in the form of you sort of changing your accent to try to sound, for someone to understand you better. But when you look at the other side, no one else is changing their accent to make sure you understand them. So there's something big in that. I think if you're Caymanian, you keep your Caymanian accent, because everyone else keeps their accent when they talk to you. So they're not changing their culture or anything. So I think that we really need to embrace ourselves and place a value on ourselves and promote ourselves. Find so often that we see that John is doing good, and then you try to bring John down, but someone else comes from overseas and you big him up. And it's really odd, you big someone up when you don't even know them, but John is successful. He's been in this game for a long time, but yet you're looking for these little things that John doesn't do well, or John made a mistake, So we need to really value our own people as well, and we need to lift our own people. I understand that everyone is open to criticism. No one is perfect, but we got to start just having a lot more pride in our own people. When there's a football game, we need that stadium packed with Caymanians, and we need to see the Cayman flag. Mm-hmm. When I visited other places, man, when people go out with their country shirts and they go out with their flags and they're really emotional about their country, have a lot of pride in their country, and they really support their country. There's Caymanians, Caymanians, I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with having pride in your country, pride in yourself, having faith in your own people. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with saying that Caymanians are first. Other countries say that their citizens are first. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with, working hard and trying to make your way to the next level. Do not apologize for being Caymanian. And I think that sometimes that's kind of where we're headed. We're like apologizing for who we are. And you understand that a lot of people come to Cayman to make a better life. A lot of people have been struggling outside Cayman, come here and make their dream come true. So don't be afraid to be who you are and express yourself and make something happen for yourself as well,
Well said. I totally agree with everything that you said there. So in your canvassing again, you did mention the kids with the creatives. And so moving forward, if you were to get elected, or when you are elected, how would you help these creatives?
Definitely, one of the things I talk about is we focus on financial services so much. Yes, financial services and insurance services make the biggest contribution to our gross domestic product. So, what we call success, what we call economic success. So that's financial services and insurance services. The problem is we are given all these scholarships that are directed at lawyers and accountants when we have a wide industry out there. We have construction, we have electricians, plumbers, etc. And in this case, we have a lot of local artists that are trying to make it. They're trying to get their airtime, trying to get their album done. I have to admit that the quality of the local music has really skyrocketed over the years, and part of that is because of technology. So I think in my case, I would love to see more funding go into the vocational area and into this area where we have artists that have studied overseas or have just made their craft in Cayman and who have come up to a very high level,
right,
and who are able to present themselves in a very professional way, and who have that Cayman, they're part of that Cayman fabric. And when they produce their music, when they sing their music, that Cayman culture, that heritage comes out. The way they express themselves in their music, that all comes out. So yes, I would definitely want to have more funding, more scholarships set aside for this area, for the people who want to study art, who want to study music, and also for the people who are music and who produce. We need to have some kind of funding for those people. If they want to have like a startup, we have to have some kind of incubator for those artists somewhere where we have a reserve, and we say this is for the budding artists. If you want to produce, we're going to fund your first like 3 albums or something like that. We're going to promote on the radio. We're going to do certain things to support the start of your career and the first couple legs of your career. But obviously after that, then you got to stand on your own feet,
I heard this thing. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to say it because you're a knowledgeable guy. You might correct me. I heard if you're a citizen of Dubai, that wherever you go and you, I guess, send a business plan back to the government of Dubai, they will help you start something.
I haven't heard that, but I've heard it about another country.
Okay.
Where in some countries, if you're from a certain country and then you go to another country, you can actually get business loans from the country you came from.
Right.
Because the objective for them is they want more of their people around the world.
Correct.
In order to sort of influence what's happening in those countries, in order to get a stake in those countries. So yeah, I've heard that for some other countries. I haven't heard it specifically about Dubai, but I've heard that situation about other countries. So, I mean, the
reason I brought up, because obviously Cayman has a small population. We are doing well, that we've been told. And how much registered voters do we have? Is it 18,000?
I think it's almost up to 23,000. I think it is now.
So we have 23,000 registered voters. There should be some benefit in there. I don't know. I'm just putting this out there for a rainy day.
So what's your recommendation? What's your recommendation?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it should make us feel good to vote. Like we vote because we get these benefits. I'm not going to put out what those benefits are, but I'm just saying it's not that much. It's not that much to me. 23,000 people is not much, and
And John, we need to get that 23,000 up, because we have all these people that, first of all, we got a lot of young people who say there's no future for them in Cayman, and I do kind of feel for them, because we got a lot of young people who are applying for jobs and they have their degrees, and for whatever reason they're being told that yes, you have a degree, but you don't have any experience. And when they get the experience, they say you don't have international experience, and so it's always this cycle. And some of our young people have actually given up and decide they're going to leave Cayman, or they just make some unfortunate decisions and end up in prison, and then that cycle of prison sort of repeats itself. So we want some of those young people to actually register to vote and participate. But there's a lot of things that they're saying that, number one, they don't feel like they're welcome in Cayman. They don't feel there's a future for them in Cayman. And then number two, they say that they don't want to do jury duty because they feel that some of the people who are picked for jury duty are selected from the voters registration list. But what you have to appreciate is that not everyone gets picked for jury duty. Sometimes the same group of people gets picked for jury duty, and then there are some people who are not really allowed to do jury duty. Then we have the current situation with the quarantine voters. We don't know how they're going to be dealt with. I did contact the elections office, and I was told that they're going to use their best efforts to deal with the quarantine voters. And it was suggested verbally that some medical staff may be used in order to get to those quarantine voters and assist them with the vote. But I don't think quarantine voters should be, disenfranchised or excluded from voting in any way. And then we have an outdated constitution where if you're overseas working as a Caymanian, then if you're away for Cayman for too long, then they're going to say that they're going to remove you from the voters list. There was a large list of objections that was done by the elections office recently, just before the voter registration deadline. And a lot of people were surprised about the list. People were asking questions. How were they notified that their voter registration was being objected to? Were they notified of the steps they had to take? And the process happened really quickly because then we had all these magistrate hearings, and then,
All right, we're going to go straight to the phone lines. Morning, you're on the air.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Alric, morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Morning.
Good. Listen, just wanted to say that I'm proud of you and fully endorse everything that you're saying about the type of election that we need to have. Right now we have elections where we're splitting the pie into 19 different pieces. Makes absolutely no sense. And I think a lot of people have an outside agenda to just sit by and watch us fail at this. Just wanted to say that, it doesn't make any sense to have an engineer in charge of healthcare. It doesn't make any sense to have a baker in charge of finance. So I think that, national elections based on subjects is a great idea. And then maybe counselors can come underneath that to deal with some of the smaller subjects. But what I wanted to just piggyback on was your mentioning just now about I guess, not so much the increasing in population, but the fact that we need to up our numbers. What do you think and how do you feel about some sort of social engineering where there's an incentive for young Caymanians to have children, sort of like what they do, I think it was done in Japan, some sort of social engineering where we up our numbers here, because we're getting to the point now where we're already outnumbered, but we don't want to tip the scales too far. You understand? So just wanted to see what you thought about that. I know we have a long way to go before we really touch on social engineering, because we have to set the table in a lot of different areas so that we're sure that when we do go about this element of increasing our numbers, that we're prepared to take on and reap the benefits of it.
Yeah, I mean, so I would love to see the voter population increase. So just so that the listening public is aware that we're talking about the people who are registered to vote, because the government always promotes this 150,000 or 100,000 population. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the number of registered voters. So when you talk about the incentive for Caymanians to have children, now if we were in a very prosperous situation, I would say, yeah, great. But right now, the cost of living is so high. The question would be, if you give them incentives, would that come in the form of subsidizing their cost of living? What type of incentive were you thinking about?
Well, I think that these the same incentives that we give to expatriate businesses that come here to do business. Maybe a reduction in certain elements of duties.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly something to think about. But I think the greatest hurdle is going to be the cost of living, because even though you give those incentives, they are probably going to be limited when it comes to their income. There's so many challenges. For example, if you're qualified and you're young and you try to get a job, but you're rejected from that job, and we have a government that doesn't want to enforce the immigration law and make Himalayan first. So if you have those other things going on that's preventing you from getting a better job and then a better income, then I don't know if the other incentives will be enough. Like if you're reducing costs in certain other areas like stamp duties and other areas for these young people, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. I do get what ultimate objective is. You want to have more Caymanians participating in this process, and you also want to make sure that you keep your culture and you keep your heritage, and you have enough people who are embedded in the culture. Whereas what's happening right now is that so many people are coming in, and we embrace everyone, but so many people are coming in, and the natural thing is, if you're from Australia, you want to sort of bring your own sort of representation of Australia in Cayman, and that's totally natural and normal. But what's happening is that there are over 100 and something nationalities here, and yes, great, they're sharing their culture, but at the same time, we don't really have enough people that are embracing the Cayman culture. And I do see where you're going with it, and I think it's something to think about, like what those incentives would be, and if those incentives would be enough in order to ensure the survival of that person, given the high cost of living here. So it's something that people should think about, definitely how that would work.
All right, thanks for your call.
Okay.
All right, Alric. Time short. Tell them where they're gonna meet you, what you got going on this weekend, all that good stuff, sir.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Saturday, 10th of April at 4 p.m. Come and talk to us. We're gonna have a meet and greet and a family fun day. One of the things we found was that parents wanted to come out but couldn't find a babysitter. Mm-hmm. So we decided let's just have a more casual meet and greet and actually invite the family. So on Saturday, the 10th of April at 4 p.m., come on down across from the St. Ignatius Catholic Church. There's an empty lot there. It's 628 Walkers Road. The empty lot across from St. Ignatius Church on Walkers Road. We're going to have bouncing castle, cotton candy, snow cone machine, and we'll have a tent there. Have the place set up so that it's where you can mingle with me as a candidate, and I can walk around and talk to different people and give you a chance to just get to know me on a very casual level. Talk about some
playing dominoes against your constituents.
Well, John, you just gave me a great idea. Should bring out some of the veterans, to play some domino games. So the first event is Saturday, 10th of April, 4 p.m., 628 Walkers Road, next to Fountain Course Apartments and across from St. Ignatius Catholic Church. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a public meeting in Windsor Park at the park at 7:30 p.m. That's Sunday 11th of April at 7:30 at the park at Windsor Park. And then our final meeting is going to be just before elections, Tuesday, 13th of April at 7:30 p.m. That's going to be held at C3 parking lot on Walkers Road. So that's intersection of Comair Drive and Walkers Road. So come out to the Family Fun Day this Saturday at 4 p.m. and then Windsor Park Sunday and C3 parking lot on Tuesday. So come on out, share your concerns. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear from you because I'll be working for you.
There you have it. Again, thank you so much for coming here. All the best, sir.
Thanks. I mean, I'm so happy that I'm here. You're boosting my profile now, so I'm probably gonna get like 30,000 followers today.
Wow.
So
all right. So we're gonna have the sarcastic politician.
No, but trying to get you to play that song.
You want me to play it again?
Yeah,
let it. We'll play that closing. There you have it, Mr. Alric Lindsay, Georgetown South get out, meet and greets Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday.
Yeah.
There you go.
So come on out.
There you have it. We'll be right back. AM Start Morning Show.
Yo, this politician going about, vote for him.